my camera. Bubba? Don't move it, silly. Okay. Well, now I have a little gargoyle. Yesterday morning, I recorded a video after I finished the novel. I finished it, it's at about 45,000 words, it's done, the story from beginning to end is probably a little bit less than 45,000, it's probably closer to 44,000, but it's done, I finished it front to back. And I finished it, and I just wasn't happy with it. I felt like it felt like there was some fundamental part of the novel that I was missing. And I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I thought it was an Act 3 plot hole, and it might still be that Act 3 plot hole. But I finished the novel yesterday, and I didn't feel good about it at all. And then yesterday afternoon, I went to Wicked with a friend of mine. Hey, Wicked's a very good musical. You should go see the movie. It's pretty fun. It's like way too long. Anyway, it's too long, but it's very good. And Ariana Grande is an incredible Glinda. And then I went to go pick a friend up and we went to write. And on the way there, I described to her the entire novel, like front to back. And she, Natalie, if you're watching this, you're maybe my savior right now. I described the entire novel front to back, and she's heard bits and pieces of it throughout the month, obviously. She said that whenever I've been describing my scenes to her, like the setting to her, she's always been picturing like 1800s New England. And I literally just like sat there for a while. And I thought, holy shit, is this in Boston actually? Is this novel not in a fantasy world? Is it just set in like Boston? So I think my novel's in Boston actually. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that. On one hand, great. I love that I've now figured out where this novel is, and that genuinely does unlock and free up a lot of room here for me to start rewriting the novel. But like, this entire time it was set in Boston and I didn't fucking know? I've never even been to Boston. I don't know. I think maybe at the core of what it has been bothering me about this novel is the fact that I had to basically rewrite rules for social stratification that existed in Victorian England and also to an extent in the American colonies. And I had to like rewrite those rules or like make reasons, even if the reader never heard them. I had to like sort of like make some reasons for X, Y, or Z to be true. And I think that fucked me. I think that fucked me over real hard. I think this fantasy novel is not in a fantasy world. I think it's just in Boston. Number one, I'm delighted that I found out that it's set in Boston because that's a real place. I can go there. I've never been to Boston, so I don't know how this novel ended up set in Boston. But it's a real place that has real history that I can just research and pick some stuff out of. Great, wonderful, beautiful. And then I can sort of add on the like alternate magical history, magical realism stuff that I need to. Great, perfect, wonderful, beautiful. Now that it's set in Boston though, I'm also forced to reckon with another choice I made early on in the process, not really thinking about it. I wrote this whole novel in first person, and I think that was a mistake. I think that was a big mistake. I think having 3 POV characters is really interesting. I like, especially fantasy novels that have those POV characters. but I don't think it's right for this story. I think I need to go third. The other big thing that I was talking about in the video that I recorded yesterday morning, where I was honestly very morose, is that this novel didn't turn out to be what I expected it to be about. Sorry, let me rephrase. This novel turned out to be about something different than what I expected, which is, of course, kind of how writing works. You start out thinking it's one way, and then in the end it turns out, actually, this is just a story about grief. And I get that. I've been there. I'm in there. I'm with you there. But this story turned out to be about grief in a way that I didn't think it was gonna be, and it made it difficult to like finish. But I did. Again, I want to emphasize this. I finished the book. I wrote from beginning to end, and I finished it. I just hate it viscerally. So last night, I looked up a lot of research about the history of whaling, which I know everybody wants to hear about, my adventures in looking at the history of whaling. But I also, this is a crazy thing to say, I also restarted the novel. I started rewriting it. Yes, it's November 22nd today. And so I started rewriting it on November 21st. Am I gonna finish this novel during November? Fuck no. But I feel like now that I know that this story is about being gay in 1850s Boston, that opens up so many doors for me. I don't have to make things up anymore. I can just look up, did they have electricity? No, the answer is no, they didn't have electricity. It's all whale oil lamps, which is very good because it plays into a major theme, which is fish. I feel like I had to kind of forget that because I was in the first draft, but that is one of the things, if you remember, way back when I plotted out some things that I wanted it to be in this novel, fish was there. A moment where somebody looks into the eyes of a dead fish and sees the eyes of their long dead mother instead. It's a silly thing to do for sure on November 21st to restart the novel, but it needed to happen. This novel needed to be in Boston, and I'm sorry I didn't realize that before now. My Massachusetts girlies, you have always been there for me. I've never been to Boston. I'm sorry I didn't realize that before now. Massachusetts, you're a great state. This helps though, because I've done the exploratory zero draft where it's set somewhere else in a different time, doing something entirely different. So now everything I wrote in November is basically a really detailed outline now. A really fun zero draft where everybody's name and profession is about to change. God. I can't believe this shit ended up about being gay in Boston. I've never even been gay in Boston. I've been gay a lot of other places, but I haven't been gay in Boston. Why is this novel about being gay in Boston now? Do I need to book a trip to Boston? I'm starting the novel again. I'm restarting. I'm not subtracting any, all the words that I got earlier, the 45,000 word draft of the novel that exists now, it's still gonna exist there, for sure. I'm just also gonna make another version of it that is the actual draft. That's the draft, but now it's Boston. Fundamentally, what has happened here is very silly. The fact that my novel sort of wrapped around to being set in Boston is crazy to me. That's sort of like carcinization, where a bunch of different species evolved to become a crab. That's kind of what happened here. This is so stupid. And by this I mean my brain. Why did you set a novel in Boston? This is comical. I hope somebody else feels this is comical because I do think this is really funny. So, hi, my name's B. Hawthorne. I'm a writer. It's November 21st, and I restarted my novel. Have y'all ever done something like this where you like wrote a whole novel and then figured out actually it needs to not be set in a fantasy world? Or the inverse? Has it been set in the real world and it needs to be set in the fantasy world? Let me know. Cause like, I feel like this isn't a thing that happens that often. I feel like going from a real world to a fantasy world feels right. That feels right, feels natural, happens all the time. Going from a fantasy world to just like having to be set in the real world feels like that doesn't happen as often. Fundamentally, what has happened here is silly. I understand that. I get that. I understand that. But I hope now that I hope that somebody else feels like a little bit of like goofy silliness from my pain. Is what I mean here. I hope somebody else feels good about I hope you guys feel better about your novel knowing that you're not restarting on November 21st. Hey, have you written today? I need to go get to work because I have a whole new novel to write in 10 days. But have you written something today?